Hey guys, I'm Barry with bodybuildinghumor.com. We're here with IFBB Pro, the X-Man, Toney Freeman. We're going to do a little bit of interview here, ask some personal questions. Thanks for your time, Toney, for doing this.
You know, like in order to be a fan of a sport or an activity or something, you kind of need to know the rules of engagement. I would think that with, you know, certain set standards in our sport as far as in the prejudging and in the finals, so the audience can kind of know more exactly what's going on. You know, people think it's just as simple as, you know, lining them up there and picking the best body, which on one hand it should be, but on another hand it should be more like competitive diving or competitive figure skating or gymnastics, where certain things need to be set and established, and then everything else could be kind of unique and individualized.
So you're saying maybe everybody strike the same pose at the same time and the judges...
Stuff like that, something that could make it more uniform, more exact, you know, like when you're watching NFL football, you know when, you know, somebody jumps off sides, or you know when it's a false start. You know, the referee confirms it, but you see it as a fan watching it from your television.
And you understand
what's going on. Maybe even for the prejudging, wearing the same kind of trunks. Establish a posing line, you know, where everybody has to stand behind the line. There's lines up there, but very few people acknowledge that it's there, or stand behind it, or in front of it, or whatever. They kind of, you know, stand wherever it makes them look the best. The timing of the poses, so the judges can see everyone hit the pose at the same time. In my opinion, I think the politics are in the call-outs. So, for instance, you know, during the first call-out, you know, those are the guys that are in the running for first, second, and third. So if you're not in the first call-out, then you're not even in the running for first place. You kind of like are fighting for third, fourth, or fifth, or whatever, depending on how many people they call out in the first call-out. Now that I feel he's Mr. Olympia, I feel that at least aesthetics is now it's back in the equation. You know, if it doesn't, I'm not going to say it's going to dominate, you know, where they're looking for aesthetics first and then all the other attributes. But at least now it's one of the attributes that are going to be looked at, because for no other reason than the current champion is aesthetically pleasing. So I think it will, maybe not to the extreme of where it was back in the 80s, but more of a happy medium, because, you know, a lot of guys are realizing that being just as big as possible is not the most positive way to show your craft. Some guys, you know, you hear the terminology has too much muscle, and, you know, there is a point where you can't have too much muscle for your frame. So I think that now it feels, you know, number one, that people are going to be trying to, if you're going to beat him, you're going to have to at least, you know, be in the ballpark aesthetically, because he has the mass and the aesthetics as well. It would have to be Arnold, Lee Haney, you know, Ronnie, of course. I mean, kind of whoever the top guy was during the era, you know. Most of the time, the top guy was the top guy for a reason, and all of them didn't deserve all their Olympias. I mean, or they were questionable anyway. But for the most part, they were the dominating figure. So when I started lifting, or thinking about lifting, it was Arnold. And then there was a lull for me where I didn't really pay attention to bodybuilding. I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't really, you know, I knew that it existed, but I didn't really pay any attention to it. And then back in the early 90s, 90, 91, you know, Lee Haney was the man. And then Dorian after him, and Flex Wheeler, and Kevin LaRone, and all those guys. So kind of, there's a little bit of champion in all of them. And, you know, it's hard not to really, to find something in all of them that you really liked or wanted to emulate. I don't really look at it as a sacrifice. It's more of a lifestyle. It's kind of like, you know, working out is a part of my everyday regimen. Eating healthy is a part of my everyday regimen. Drinking certain types of water, a certain amount of water, getting a certain amount of sleep. That's a part of my everyday regimen. So it's not necessarily, I don't consider it a sacrifice. I know the benefits of it, so it makes it easier to stick with it, because I know that if I do X, Y, and Z for X amount of time, I get this result. You know, a W is a W. I would say all of my wins felt damn good. But I think one of my greatest experiences on stage, there's two of them. When I got third at the Arnold Classic, and a lot of people said I should have won. And then when I got fifth at the Olympia, a lot of people said I should have won. In both of those shows, I thought I was the winner. But I had some really good bodybuilders in front of me that were ranked higher than me. So, you know, it didn't completely go my way that day, but it also was the kind of the turning point to let the world know that I was one of the guys, one of the top guys. So didn't win the first place, but I won a lot of people's respect, and I won a lot of fans because, you know, a lot of people thought I won just on you know, physically. So
maybe that's the part where the politics can.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does, and I understand it. There's a place for it, for sure. But like I say, if you establish a standard, then politics will maybe the deciding factor at the end when, you know, the standard has been met by one or two or three individuals and it's still really close. And now you can add politics for the deciding factor. Motivation is kind of easy I mean, I always tell people my motivation is just looking in the mirror. I mean, because I've been doing this so long, you know, and plus I don't really hold myself accountable for looking good if I'm not putting in the work. You know what I'm saying? In other words, like a lot of people beat themselves up, you know, even when they're not putting in the work. You know what I mean? So I kind of don't do that. Well, last year I did 9 bodybuilding shows. I did 15 plus seminars. I did over 150,000 miles in the air. So I had a really crazy busy year this year. I want to take advantage of all the things that I established last year, but it was kind of like a whirlwind. So I really didn't get to fine tune a lot of that stuff. You know, I got my product out there, which I wanted to do. I did a lot more seminars, which I'm trying to get into that more as well. But so 2012, I said, you know, the first quarter, I'm gonna focus on business and organization, being more efficient. I started my own foundation called the Duling Foundation, and basically we're fighting obesity, childhood obesity, and onset diabetes. So between getting X-Pain to the level that I would like it to be at, and, you know, growing my foundation, and then later on this year, getting on stage and winning a couple shows, and, you know, hopefully cracking the top 5 at the Olympia. I just want my bodybuilding career to transition into the acting world, because I'm starting to do acting. I did one movie this year called Park. Getting ready to start working on this other one called Justice Nights. So I'm hoping that, you know, this year and next year I establish myself as an actor and just transition from the bodybuilding stage to the big screen. That's what I'm hoping.